Go ho. Jimasagi. Mite okina ole wa homono. Tsukata kaizo hikae olo. Ole wa shimpi omae wa polo. Butu no shimpi deku sono lo. Oh, mite okina ole wa homono. Tsukata kaizo hikae olo. Ole wa shimpi omae wa polo. Butu no shimpi deku sono lo. Whoa, whoa. Aye, Kennick shows your thigh. That's guy. That's right. Aye, でかく動く日本社会。やばい。星交換のゲットはつらい。はい、か、い、で、答えなさい。はい。口答えするんじゃないファイ俺のファランが火を吹くピンクフラミンゴの状態からキックする君の知る地面にあちキスするタイプされても知らないエルースリズムまだ探しも意味ない地面詐欺やばすぎるからマジやばいでも君の好みではないかもしれないからバイバイ見て大きな俺は本物使った改造控えおろ俺は新品お前はポロ服の新品でクソのロー見て大きな俺は本物使った改造控えおろ俺は新品お前はポロ服の新品でクソのロー下げ縛れ下手くそなバーリンネットから外れた一発がファーリン地球上の生物の全てにワーニングこんな時オケージョンなら You all in pedal to the metal ふざけるな俺の携帯に勝手に言うつの曲なんかいるんじゃねって
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. All right.
Sir, on the website, it's saying that
Say
Sir,
again.
this classman.
on the website, word 30. Something that's probably why students aren't graduating.
Oh, on the website, you're kind of chipping out. What you say about students?
It's saying
Sir.
that word 30. Are you hearing?
Oh, oh, right. Because of the site visit last time. Well, can you? I guess let me see. I didn't update the website with that message. All right. So can you send a message out? Hopefully they're attending digitally, so they shouldn't be very far, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, man, just send a message out because we don't have a long class today. Actually, I did have a site visit scheduled for today, but with another group from CSA, but we didn't have to do it anymore. So I never updated that message on the site. So just tell them that we're having classes now. And it's going to be it should be pretty short. I mean, not super short, but I don't envision it being a very long class. Right? All right. In the meantime, Let me update the site as well. Right, class moves to 4:30. Yeah, we're not having that anymore. Instead, I will add a message that says, new grades. Posted. Because I do in fact have some grades posted, but it's not all of them. I'm about 50% through the assignments. And they're looking pretty good. I expect nothing less. You guys should be. I see a level of confidence expressed in the production of the drawing. So that is good news. That means everyone is all confident with Photoshop and Illustrator that we've been learning for a couple of weeks, right? All right, so in the meantime, today we are moving on to InDesign. Do you guys have your InDesign package ready? Ready to rumble?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So before we get started, we did speak a little bit about some of the things that InDesign does in the lecture class. However, we're actually going to put it into action today. So we're going to actually do some testing in InDesign, right? So I have here some examples. Right. So I have here some examples of what we would use InDesign to produce. And I actually carried a working file as well. So I want to show you guys this I want to show you guys this example of a project. Here we go. So this is actually an example of a thesis project, which is a multi-page document. This is actually about 33 pages. And I mean, can you imagine laying out 33 Photoshop files? How crazy that would be? Right? Then again, we could also do this in Word, but then certain flexibility with doing maybe certain diagrams. For example, this document contains, let's scroll down here. It contains illustrations that was done in Photoshop. It also contains photographs of models. It contains diagrams, right? Illustrating the concept. And it also contains drawings that you can see here. Right? It also contains drawings as well, right? So
So that's
quite
AutoCAD drawings.
right. And this is actually, well, this was actually produced in Revit, but they
Yeah.
are vector drawings because if you scroll in, you can kind of see, you know, well, I can't zoom in anymore, but you can kind of see that they are vector drawings. And scroll down here. Right. There we go. So these are additional drawings as well as renderings. So a lot of different information in this multi-page document. And this is like one of the perfect examples of using InDesign, because um using Word wouldn't really have the capabilities to maintain the quality of so much document types. So Word, you can put a picture in Word and it's just fine, but being able to link directly to plans, renderings, photographs, that these photographs were enhanced in Photoshop. And what you're seeing now is a direct link to those diagrams as well, right? So this is perhaps one of another perfect use case for InDesign in the architectural industry. Have you guys ever heard of a feasibility study?
Yes, sir.
Right. So commonly in an architectural firm, they will do a feasibility study, and in that feasibility study, they will do documents that involves input from people from various industries. So, if they're putting up a new hospital, they probably have to do some feasibility studies. And those also include floor plans as well. So, whenever you have to put all of these content together, and especially when you have graphic content and you have to maintain that quality across all regions of content, you want to use a program like InDesign. Now, if I open this document in InDesign, I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to dive into InDesign for ourselves to really see what all the hype is about. Why is it that InDesign, why would I choose to do this document in InDesign? Why not choose Word or Publisher? Or for those of you that are Photoshop fanatics that say, everything I'm doing in Photoshop, why not Photoshop? So we're going to be looking at some of the advantages of using InDesign, and we're going to do a activity today as well. Now I'm also going to introduce to you, and if you give me a drum roll, I will introduce to you our new latest assignment, which is going to be the portfolio assignment. You can call this assignment 2. And if I take a look on my schedule here, you can see that we have pretty much completed assignment 1. So that's good news, right? So we've pretty much completed assignment 1. Then we're going to move to the portfolio assignment, which is now here, right? So we're going to start today, and we should finish about the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? This assignment is a little different though. It's not something that I'm going to give you to work on and you go off and you work on it and you carry it in. What it's going to be is it's going to take the form of this, what I call assignment journey, right? And if you take a look here, you will see how we kind of start at this point and kind of move down the line until we get to the end of the assignment. And as we go down, we take different detours with these points here. And each of these detours marks a piece of this journey that we're taking through the assignment, right? So if we kind of zoom in, our first point of contact, we want to look on what the assignment is, right? And the objective of this assignment is to learn how to generate concepts and drive design creation and architectural presentation boards, right? Now, when you guys see awesome architectural boards like some here, right? Like if you look on these architectural boards, richer detail, and some of them you might agree with, others you may not. It might not be your style or your flavor, but there is something very intentional about these boards, right? And if you just go into Google and type architectural presentation, you will get these kinds of results. So how is it that people come up with these plans? Right? And you come up with these plans using a process. And I'm gonna attempt to teach you the secret of that process. How do you create really awesome presentation boards? And we are going to attempt to do that using InDesign and learning InDesign in the process, right? Now, in a nutshell, this is what we are trying to achieve. We want to streamline your thought process whenever you're designing the layout for your presentation boards, right? So when you have completed your content for your presentation boards, you may have floor plans, sketches, photographs, and you need to collate this in a presentable way. We are going to start broad, where we think about ideas. How can we present this information? We're going to use reference and inspiration to filter what we want the presentation board to look like. As we move down the filter, we're going to prioritize information. What information do we need to show? What don't we need to show? I have 15 photographs here of my model. Do I need to show all 15 of them? Or can I get away with just showing 2, right? Then when we filter that now, we're going to kind of grind down the results using color theory, such as using the principles of design, such as hierarchy, color, contrast, alignment. And every time we consider these things, our presentation board will become more and more awesome and looking more like those examples that we show, right? So it's not necessarily about how well you use the software, but how well you can funnel all your thoughts and ideas into one theme and generate at the end of it a presentation board that looks pleasing and acceptable and in a professional architectural way. All right. So you guys excited? Or are you scared?
Excited too.
Kind of excited.
Now, I know you guys have critique on Friday, but not to worry. We're not doing an assignment today. I mean, this whole thing is an assignment, but you're not getting work that you need to carry home. We are going to do work in class now, and it is going to form a part of your portfolio grade. But it's going to be during class time, so it shouldn't really affect your design studio production time. Now, before we create really awesome presentation boards, like what like some of the examples that we show here, before we get to this stage, we're going to go through a process. And the idea is that if you guys can mimic this process every single time you will have awesome presentations, right? And we're talking about professional level presentation layouts, not just throw a bunch of images on a slide and present it, but using very intentional means to generate your architectural presentation. And in that effect, you're also going to enhance what you're trying to say visually, right? So we're gonna make the first 2 stops. And the first stop we have to do today is gonna be learning the InDesign interface. And the next stop, we don't have to necessarily do today, but you need to complete it before next class. And all that is you are going to select a completed Design Studio project. So for example, you guys just completed climate. So when you created your presentation of climate, you're going to take the title of your presentation, a descriptive text. You're going to take up to 5-line drawings that you had used to make up that presentation, and up to 5 images that you had used. And we're going to use those in our exercise journey, our assignment journey that we're going to go through. So you guys will have you can, between now and next class, you can decide what project you want to use. So far, you've completed 2 projects. So you just need to pick one. And we are going to use those assets as a kind of a specimen, like a guinea pig, to test our theory on creating awesome architectural presentation boards, right? So that is the second step that we're going to do today. So we're going to do these 2 today. One of these activities is worth 3%, as you can see. That 3% counts towards your 15% presentation grade, right? And this other activity here, well, it's going to add to this activity here, and then add to the next activity, which is also graded. So you're going to need to do this. But you don't have, as I said, you're just grabbing a bunch of assets that you used for your previous presentation. So it's not something that you have to create. All right. So everyone clear on where we start from?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Kimona, are we good? Do you understand our journey that's ahead of us?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, great. And so does Orlando as well, right? Do you understand what we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. All right, so this is where we're going to start. And the first thing we are going to investigate is what's so great about InDesign. So I want us to fire up InDesign, and I want you to go to the mirror board, click this link to download these assets. This link includes 6 different assets, 4 pictures, an Illustrator file, and a Photoshop file. I want you to download them to your computer as we go through this exercise. It's the integration of text and graphics in a page layout to produce suitable material for publishing. Okay, so we're going to use InDesign. There's actually an InDesign file that is available, and that InDesign file we're gonna take the content that's given to you, and you're gonna lay them out in InDesign and then submit the work. And that is really our activity that we are to do today, right? So while we do this small activity, we're going to learn the user interface of InDesign. As files are. So once you click this link, it will pop up and you will notice that you have some images, you have an AI file here, you have some photos, you have a PSD file, and you have another photo here. So these are the content that you're going to use to complete the exercise. Okay. Now when you open InDesign, it will look something like this, right? And you will be able to view, if you were working on past projects, you would be able to do that, right? As a matter of fact, I don't know if anybody saw the 2021 calendar. Anybody saw the 2021 UTech calendar? Okay. Well, that was actually created in InDesign. So what you're seeing here now is that project. But you're seeing other projects here that is created in InDesign. So essentially, you're presented with the preview screen, right? Now, just like Photoshop and the rest of applications, you're going to choose Create New. You're going to see this window pop up, and this is where you choose the document that you want to create. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this assignment 2 part 1. Let's just call it that. Right? Then let's go. We're gonna choose our orientation. So it's gonna be horizontal. Now let's take a look on the sketches. Cause remember our objective here, Our objective here is that we want to create a layout from these simple sketches. We want to have a cover page with some kind of title here. We want to have a page on the inside cover where we have a photo and some kind of text here. Then we want to have another page here that has 3 images with some descriptions at the bottom, and then a back page. Right? So before you lay out any kind of booklet form portfolio, this kind of sketch is what we refer to as a, let's call it a sketch wireframe. Essentially, it's giving you an idea of what you want, how you want to lay out your project. So notice. So if we take a look here, right? This is what that project that I showed you look like. And you would see that this is all of the content that made up that project. This is the actual working file. And if I zoom in here, you can see these are the different contents and the different text. And these are called frames. And in these frames contain information. And the information contained in these frames are located here under links. So this is how InDesign work. It's kind of like a container that contains a bunch of frames, and it lays it out in a way that makes it easy to work with graphics. So just like how Illustrator has an artboard, it's like InDesign has an artboard for every page. So for example, I could have stuff that I maybe previously used, like this sketch right here. Maybe I previously used it, but I decided not to, and just have it off to the side. So every spread is like its own artboard. All right, so that's what a working file looks like on InDesign. In InDesign, you can choose number of pages, right? So this is the part, this is where InDesign starts to differ from the other applications, right? Now, in this case, we can refer back to our document here. Let's see. Here we go. So we know that we wanted to have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. So we're gonna say 4 pages. Notice you see some other options here. Facing pages, that's what this option is here. And we're gonna look at what that means there. And we're just gonna leave everything else at default. In terms of page size, you could go to print and say letter, landscape, and then we're going to choose create. All right. Oh, I think I might have went back and not choose 4 pages, but anyway, we can add more pages as we go along. So this is what the general interface looks like, right? Now I'm using mouse wheel to scroll between pages. Right now I just have 1 page, and I'm holding Alt and mouse wheel to zoom out. Now notice that this workspace differs from the workspace we're used to in InDesign. Sorry, Illustrator or even Photoshop. Now at the top we still have our control bar, and on the left side we still have our tools. Let me just pull that out. So I'm going to undock it so that you can see what that looks like. And I'm going to click this little button here that shows me that I can switch to 2 rows. Oops. That I can switch to 2 rows like that. All right. So you might also notice, so this is your toolbar here. And then you might also notice that the tools are similar. Now, notice on your toolbar, there are some familiar icons, right? So there is the direct selection, the selection tool and the direct selection tool. So these tools are coming from Illustrator, but then there are a couple of others, and we're not going to really use a lot of them. Obviously we can see our text tool here, and we can see our pen tool here. These will be some of the tools that we'll use a lot. These are our framing tools here. Of course, we know how this operates from Illustrator, where we can choose stroke, color, or fill color. InDesign has a second layer of this where we can choose stroke and fill for text. So for example, if I switch over to text here, you can see that the text itself has its own stroke and fill, and shapes have their own stroke and fill. So that's one new element that InDesign offers. All right, so we're going to look at how all of those stuff works. Now, just like the other Adobe applications, on the right side, you have your panels. And these panels can be reconfigured. Now, we're not going to go through a whole reconfiguration exercise because you guys have pretty much done that for the last two applications, where you know that you can drag out your icons, expand it, and relocate them, and all of these things. So I'm actually using the default layout of InDesign, and we're just going to continue using it that way. If you guys want to read it, your layouts, you can do that. Yeah, question? Our mission on our fair, right? Now, we do need to create these layouts from the sketch that we had just done. So on our first page, we want to have an image here and some text. Well, let's add the rest of pages in case we didn't add them. So in order to add pages, so notice here we're now on the pages panel, and this is one of the most important panels in InDesign. Here are our pages, and in order to add more pages, we're going to choose the add more pages here. All right, so I have now added 4 pages. Notice how my layout changes, and I'm going to just kind of zoom out here using Alt and mouse wheel. Now, I don't know if you saw where I added those pages. So let's go here. And I'm going to go over to here. So if I wanted to add additional pages, you see I have a pages panel here. And down in this corner here is the add more pages icon. So in case you didn't choose the number of pages at the beginning, you can just press this here and it will just add additional pages. In this case, I'm actually inserting pages, right? So I have my page 1. Look at how it laid out my center spread. And then I have the 5. Yes.
You just remove the pages by dragging it to the delete?
Yeah, or you can click the trash can while it's selected.
Okay.
Whichever one. Final page over here. Now in InDesign, you have your page and then you have your work areas. I don't know if you remember in Illustrator, you had your page and your work area as well, but in InDesign, your page is here, and then your work area is everywhere over this side here. Now you can place items for this page on the page or in the work area. If it is not on the page, then it's not going to be printed. But let's say you have an item that you're not sure that you're going to put on the page. You would store that in the work area, and then you just drag it over to the page when you're ready, right? This is similar to how you might find yourself working in Illustrator. But it's very different to how you will find yourself working in Photoshop, because as you might have realized, in Photoshop you can't put anything beyond the canvas that you're working. Okay, everybody understand this concept? Any questions?
If you print and the things
Okay,
are
cool.
still on the work area, you say it won't print. It will only print what's on the white.
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, notice that when you create these pages, you have the numbers for your page here. Also, notice that you have this little letter in the top. This is little A here. And these letters are referring to the slide master. Now, I don't know if any one of us are PowerPoint veterans, right? But if you use PowerPoint a whole lot, then you would, chances are you would come across a feature called a slide master. Now, a slide master is simply whatever you put on these pages, that's this page here and this page here, will appear on every page. So whatever you put on this side will appear on all pages on this side, and whatever you put on this side will appear on all pages this side. So InDesign is really made for you to do documents. So if you're doing a 40-page document and you needed to put an icon or something on each page, just like how Word has well, let me throw that question out. Word has that feature. What is it called?
Here is the header.
Yeah, say again.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking the question. It was the video. Was it the word feature? I was asking if it was the header on the footer footnote thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So some of you are already familiar with Slide Master from PowerPoint. I think I did ask that question last week, right? So it's kind of similar to the header and the footer when dealing with InDesign. But it's a little more flexible, I would like to say it. Exactly. So this is like that, but it's a bit more robust. Right? So anything you put on one page, it will show on the others. You can have multiple slide masters. So for example, let's say all of chapter 1 in your book have a purple background, and all of chapter 2 has a red background. Then you would make a slide master for chapter 1 and a slide master for chapter 2. Alright? We can look at an example of how slide masters work. Right after the exercise. Alright. Now in addition to that, it tells you your page number, right? So you might notice that you see you have page 1 here, then page 2 and 3, and then page 4. All right, good. All right, so on page 1, let's zoom in here to page 1, and I'm using spacebar and left click to pan around. And remember what we're going to put on page 1. We want to put a headline image and a title text below. Now to do that, we're going to use up what we call frames. Now on the left hand side here, we have rectangular frame tool. We're going to click on that and we're going to draw a frame in like that. Now a frame is simply indicating that we intend to put an item here, and the item we intend to put here will have this shape. So we're going to line this up. So notice that I can get my center line there. I'm going to make it a bit wider. Center like that. It's a frame tool that's located right here. Okay, now the next thing we're going to put is a title here. So in this case, I'm going to put my name. Now to do that, I'm going to use the text tool and click there, and I'm going to just click and drag to put my title here, and I'm going to say Brian Williams. All right, now you might notice that the text is a bit small. So we would know in order to change the text. Now this works very similar to Illustrator. When I click on the text here, notice that it will change items above. It will, so for example, if I click on this frame, it will change items above. If I click on this text, notice the same thing. So when I click on text, I get certain options that is related to this object that I have selected.
Okay.
So of course I can change the font. Yes.
My options are hidden. How do I enable that with tab? Like it's not there. So it's just the page and the ruler.
Oh, but when you say your properties, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Can I
Yes,
help,
sir,
sir?
it's hidden.
Can I help, guys?
Yes, you.
So what you want to do to get the option bar is you're going to click on, you see where you have publish online, right beside it you have a icon. I don't know what it says for you, but then you have a drop down menu right beside those words, and you click it, and then all you need to do is press Essentials Classic, and then you'll get everything.
All right,
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Good one, Hugh. And this drop down, what is it showing us? As remember, we spoke about this in the other, it's also in Photoshop and Illustrator. So when we click this drop down at the top here, what is it showing us? Essentials, Classic, and all those things.
So is that the workspace?
Yes, sir.
Aha. Right. Good. And I don't know if you remember, but from the very first Photoshop when we're talking about workspaces, we're saying that it's a good idea that we can create our own workspaces, right? So eventually, you know, when you get used to having your workspace set up a certain way, you would save and create your own workspace. You know, makes your production a bit quicker. Text is a bit small. So, we would know in order to change the text. Now this works very similar to Illustrator. When I click on the text here, notice that it will change items above. It will, so for example, if I click on this frame, it will change items above. If I click on this text, notice the same thing. So when I click on text, I get certain options that is related to this object that I've selected. So of course I can change the font size and all of these things. And guess what? This bar will differ depending on how wide your screen is. So for example, if I'm using a computer that's this small, then notice I'm only getting some tools. But if I'm working with it this wide, I will get more tools. But remember, your control bar at the top is really a kind of quick launch. It's not the go-to place to see all your tools, right? To see all your tools, you would need to go to Window, and for example, if I wanted to see my text tools, I'd go to Type and Tables, and then I would open my character panel. And this looks familiar. You guys should recognize this panel from Photoshop and Illustrator. Yeah. What else? 2-pan, what you might see them have in the other applications. And that's because InDesign is meant for desktop publishing and the manipulation of large bodies of text. Alright, so it will have more tools to do that. So I'm going to dock these two tools together. You guys know how to do that already, and I'm just going to rest this over here in the meantime. Okay, let's put it over here. Alright, so I want to make this a little bigger, so I'm going to click on this frame over to character, and I'm going to use, I can actually use my up and down arrow keys to let this text bigger. There we go. Also, we're going to let's try centric Gothic. Bold. Yeah, that's okay. Now you don't have to follow me exactly. You can use your own font. I'm going to go over to paragraph. I'm going to put that in the center, and then I'm going to align this in the center here. Now there is an alignment. Where are you? The alignment tools are a little different here. Okay, there we go. All right, so once you have that lined up there, next we want to add in our image. Now remember, the content that you are to use, you're actually given it already, right? So you need to access your content by going to the click here to access exercise files, right? So this is where your exercise files are. So you will see a picture called project title page here. So I'm going to go to that folder, project title page. I'm going to download this. right, good. So now that I have downloaded it, I am going to browse to where I have downloaded it to. And I'm going to drag it in. Now here's an important point. When you're dragging things in InDesign, when you release it, you want to release it inside your frame here. As a matter of fact, there are multiple ways to drag things in. Before you drag stuff in, the proper way to get it in is to go to File, Place, and you might recognize this whole feature already because you might have done it in Photoshop. And I'm going to look for, here we go, project title page. And there we go. Now notice that because I had this frame selected, the image went inside the frame. Now you notice that the image is kind of cut off. Oh, as a matter of fact, no, we used the wrong image. We're supposed to use the your text image here. So let's change that out. So with this frame selected, again, I'm going to go to oh wait, let's download that text first. So if I go back to here, here it is, insert your text here. So I'm going to download this text. There we go. So this is an Illustrator file. Now let's go back to InDesign, and with this frame selected, I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to select this Illustrator file here. I'm going to double click that. Alright, so it has placed this inside the frame. Now in this case, notice that the frame is not quite big enough. So in order to change the size of the frame, I'm going to just drag these out. Now notice that when I'm dragging these out, it's actually not changing the width of the file, the document. Instead, it is really changing the size of this window that is viewing the document. Now these are some important key points here, because if I wanted to move the actual document, I would need to use my direct selection tool. Anybody remember that tool from Illustrator? So that's the direct selection tool, and then I would have to move that. And notice now that I'm moving this inside the frame. Everybody sees that? Guys? So with me? Notice that that is going to be a little tricky within InDesign, right? Because sometimes I know when you're grabbing and moving stuff, you might be moving stuff inside the frame, but you intend to move the whole frame or vice versa. Anybody experiencing that?
Sir, could you go back like a couple minutes, please, in the video?
Okay. Tell me what you're trying to
I'm trying to fix the image.
right. So
Mr. Williams,
yeah.
I'm not sure if everybody having this problem, but the video is pixelated for me. I'm not sure if it's my bandwidth.
Oh yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
Matthew also said it is as well.
Yeah, it's a bandwidth thing. I can enable the high quality, but it's gonna be choppy. Sometime when you enable and disable it, it tend to come back. So let's see if that works. All right. But what I was saying is with this is when something is inside of a frame and you double click it, you get this brown border. Oops. So you get this brown border here. So this brown border is telling you that this is the boundaries of the image inside the frame. So all you need to do is to like readjust it like that. And you can move this inside the frame. Make it smaller or make it bigger.
No, sir, it's the part where I included the image, but then it's not scaled properly.
Like it's too big.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's imagine that this image is way big like that. So then all you're seeing is just a little, flat gray thing like that, right? So what you need to do, is double click it, just the same. And if I zoom all the way out, you see the same thing. You can see, you see them?
Yes, sir.
Right. So you just need to find that brown border and tackle it from there.
Question, can the frames overlap? Or when they overlap?
When you say the frames, you mean like
so my text has disappeared once I extended the frame for the photo or the title.
Like it's above it. So meaning, for example, like if I move it in front of the text, well, this text is behind. This text is in front. Right. So so for example, right now, kind of move this. This text is in front of this frame. So you can adjust the front and back by right clicking, going to arrange and say, bring to front or send to back. So it's like right now it's behind. Right.
Okay. But my text that I put in the box, it totally went away. I don't know. Maybe I need to check something.
Hold on, the text that you did what?
So I wrote my name in the text box, and when I extended it, and I pulled it back, that there's no text. I don't know if I did something wrong.
Hold on, but how did you write your text in here? You put it in another text box?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a way that we're going to do that. So that's coming up next. All right.
Oh.
Hey man, you're blazing ahead, man. All right. All right. Now, this title text here, I'm going to remove that actually because the text that I need is inside this document. So I'm going to resize the frame to match the margin. These are your margins here. And by the way, these margins are not printed. They're just there as visual indicators, right? So I'm going to position this like about there. All right. Now this that I've inserted is actually an Illustrator file. So how do I edit this? Well, I could actually click on this and go right click and say edit original. So when I do that, then it's actually going to open in Illustrator. I hope you guys see what is really happening here. This is really an Illustrator file that I have inserted in InDesign. InDesign previews the file, but I'm not able to edit it. You know, I can't edit this text here because this text is only this content is only editable in Illustrator. So in Illustrator, I'm going to actually put my text there by just double clicking, and this is a group, so I'm going to say Brian Williams maybe just center that up and maybe put this to the right side. You guys don't have to do it exactly like what I'm doing here, so you can put whatever name you want to put here. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click save and go back to InDesign. Now here's the important thing. Notice in InDesign I get a little triangle that's located on this frame, and this triangle is actually telling me that this has been modified, and I can click to update. So I'm gonna click that, and bam, notice that it has now updated. Now next, I want to add some additional text on this page. So let's add, for example, my ID number. Well, now I would use text, and I would just go here, and I could just click and drag to draw my text box frame and write ID number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, just like before, I'm going to make this big. So I'm going to use my character panel, and I'm going to change that to centric Gothic, one of my favorite typefaces. All right, and I'm going to just arrange this frame like there. Good. Let's right align it. You know, I'm choosing options here just based on my preference. So as I say, you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. There you go. All right, so I'm zooming with Alt and mouse wheel, and I'm panning with spacebar and left click, just like Photoshop and Illustrator. So I've created this title page here, and I've created it from 2 frames. My first frame is created from content from Illustrator, and this other frame here, this text frame, is really text that is added in InDesign. Now, another thing you might notice is that this. Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to say, sir, how do you scale without changing the orientation, sir?
Without what?
Changing the orientation. Like we used, you'd hold on shift as you drag one point.
Oh, without skewing the image.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Don't work for me.
It's not working. So
it's no.
Oh. Okay, it just being stubborn.
Yeah.
Preview looks very blocky. Now, don't pay any attention. Now, another thing you might notice is that this preview looks very blocky.
Okay.
Now, don't pay any attention.
For me, when I edit the file in Illustrator, it can't save.
Oh, it depends on where you downloaded the file to. It's in a location that is not giving you modification privileges. So meaning it's saying what? When you click save, what it's saying?
It says, give me a second. It says, can't save the illustration, the file may be read only, or the file is in its not by another application, or you don't have the required permission. So please save it.
Right. So yeah, so okay, different things you can try. You can save as and then manually replace the file. So Illustrator is detecting that the file is open somewhere else. That's why it's not allowing you to save. Or maybe it's in a location that where is it? In your downloads?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a location. I think it's, you sure you don't have the file open twice?
It's only one. No, sir.
All right, here we go. Close Illustrator and just do it again. I mean, the other option is that you can just save as and then replace the file in InDesign, but it should keep the link. I'm not sure why it's not doing that for you.
All right, sir.
Sir, where do I find the modify option?
The modify, you mean to update when you save?
Yes, sir. Or to open it in Illustrator.
Oh, edit original. You just right click the frame and you click on the edit original in the right click.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Attention to that because InDesign is actually set up to preview in this low resolution way so that your performance doesn't take a hit. So if you were trying to do a 10-page document in Illustrator, you would notice that your Illustrator starts to really slow down because of all the content. But InDesign can take thousands of pages and still remain very fast. And this is one of the reasons why it does this, because it makes the preview a low resolution. Now, if I should print this document, so let me save it first, just in case it crashes. By the way, InDesign has very good crash recovery. I mean, that doesn't mean you shouldn't save, but you know, I'm just telling you. So I'm gonna save this to my desktop, and I'm gonna just print it out just to show you guys an example here. So I'm going to export, and I'm going to export to a PDF to my desktop. I'm going to leave everything on default and just choose export. Okay, good. And then on my desktop now, I'm going to open that project. And notice, see, I get nice vector text because this text is actually coming directly from Illustrator, but it's being produced through InDesign. So everything is nice and sharp, just the same. Even though my preview doesn't look nice and sharp. Now, if you want to let your preview look nice, you can change your view to overprint. And notice that you're seeing all of these lines and frames here. Sometimes you can't really get a good appreciation of what the final picture looks like. Well, if you go to Window and turn on, View and turn on Overprint Preview, Then notice all of the text frames go away, and you get the high resolution preview. But you might notice that your InDesign may start to slow down a bit depending on how much pages you have. So I'm going to turn that off while I'm manipulating. Okay, good stuff. Now next we're going to go to the other layout. So let's go back on our mirror board here. Remember guys, this is your assignment path. So everyone needs to complete this full path in order to get their 15 points. And this is what I'm doing. And some text here. So what I'm going to do is that, so this layout has a Adobe InDesign, and this is what I'm doing. And I'm now creating this layout here. So this layout has a title text here, it has an image and some text here. So what I'm going to do is let's create those frames. So, and what you can do sometimes is, maybe if you don't remember what your layout looks like, you can just have it side by side so that it can keep you reminded of what you want your layout to look like. So I'm going to actually put this over here, and that's what we're doing. So from this concept, we know that we want to have some kind of text here. We want to have a image here, so we're going to have a frame, and then we're going to have some text here. So let us execute that. So let's close that. So first thing we need to do is to draw our frame. So we're going to choose the frame tool again, and put in a frame like about here. Then we know we want to have some text, so we're going to use our text tool, and we're going to put in a text frame here. We're going to make the size big enough. So now here's something that we can do. Title here. So let's write introduction. All right, so just like before, I'm gonna make that Century Gothic. Like Word. Right. Actually, yes, there is. Your text styles are located. That's a what's it called? That's a panel that you need to enable. So what I was just referring to is the text styles. For those of you who are used to using Word, where you have where you can choose between title text and subtitle text and that kind of stuff. You also have that in here as well. It just surface for now, but that is the direction that you would go. And then you would have, like, when something is a title text, you just choose title text and it would choose a particular font size and typeface. All right. Okay. So we're gonna put introduction here. I'm gonna right align it. So I'm going to go to my paragraph tool here and right align it there. And notice now that you can really start to snap frames together. So that frame can be snapped there, and we can make this about that. Now next, we're going to put in the placeholder text. Now so we're going to create another text frame, and I'm just going to draw it in here. But here is a beauty of InDesign. You can actually design what your text should flow like in InDesign. So for example, InDesign has a built-in feature to simulate what a paragraph would look like using what's called placeholder text. Now to access that, you're going to go to type, and you're going to go to fill with placeholder text. So this is what this text would feel like on this page, right? And of course this is representing what we had right here, but we're just now trying to lay it out. We're trying to interpret this sketch in a more accurate way. All right, so if I actually zoom in here, you will see that this text is really gibberish, right? So it's not really saying anything, but it's simulating what a paragraph would look like. Now, how we align this has a lot to do with the principles of design, which we're going to look on over the next couple weeks. But for now, for this tutorial, we're just going to follow along. Now, I'm going to lay out my text like that, and like this, and like here. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to go to paragraph, and I'm going to let it justify with a line left. So when I do that, then my full body of text will fill out the profile area, and it will end on the left. So it won't try to space out this last line to fill the entire line. Then I'm going to double click in here, and I'm going to insert a new paragraph here. Then I'm going to change my font size. I can't change it up here because my screen isn't wide enough, so I'm going to just use my character panel. And character, I'm going to just use my up arrow and make that a little bigger. Alright, now what I'm actually doing now is I'm actually designing the flow of my text. So notice now that I've made the characters bigger so it can't fit in the frame, and I get this little red dot here, and that tells me that, hey, there is parts of this document that could not fit in this frame. Now remember, I'm really designing the flow of my words, so this is really gibberish, so I can decide to have less words. Let's do that for here as well. There we go. Now the great thing about this gibberish text is that when you actually get to put in your actual text, you will have an idea of how many words are needed to fill in this space. Meaning that if you are actually going to write an introduction, you have a limit to how many words you can now use. Is it has 7 words. Paragraph info. Okay, what I've opened here is my info panel, right? And I did that by going to window and info. Now, what this is telling me is this paragraph here has 34 words. Let me zoom in here so you can see it. It has 34 words, 6 lines, and 238 characters. This paragraph here has 47 words. So what does this tell you? When you're doing your document and you are now writing the actual text, if you exceed the total amount of text here, then that means that your word count will not fit in your design, and that means your frame is going to have to get bigger, your design is going to have to change. Do you guys understand this important point?
So where do you find the info window?
So the info window is located on the window, right? And essentially what's happening is that you can use this to so you can determine how many words you need to fill a particular section of your design. Remember, you have already designed your document to hold a particular amount of words. So this info panel tells you how much words is there, so that if you have somebody else that's working on those words, you can tell them, hey, try to stay in the region of X amount of words, and you know that it will fit the design. So it's located in the window panel. And we decided that we want the paragraph to have this amount of words and to have this look and feel. Now, when you're actually, we fill the paragraph with placeholder text, so this text doesn't make any sense. So if we want, when we actually get the proper text, the actual text to use, if we want to insert it in our design without changing the look and feel of our design, we would need to use approximately the same amount of words that are here in order to let the paragraph look the same way. So if I open the info panel, you realize that I'm able to check the amount of words in this paragraph. So it's 47 words, and I can check the amount of words in this paragraph. So when I'm actually writing the actual text, maybe I write it in Word or write it in WhatsApp or whatever it is. Maybe it's a group project and somebody else is writing the description or the introduction. You can tell them, hey, your introduction should not have more than 34 words. Because if it has more, it's going to change my design. And InDesign allows you to check that. Here's another feature as well, and we're going to kind of stray a little from our layout. Now, let's insert the image here. Now, the image to insert here, if we look back on our mirror board here, this image here is where is it? Right, project title page. That's this image here, which is a Photoshop file. So if we go to our working folder, and here it is, and we're going to download this file, and then we're going to place, so we're going to go to file. Oh, we need to select the frame first that we want to use. So we're going to go to file, place, and we're going to choose that. All right. So just like before, we have now inserted the image here, and you can see that the image is way bigger. So to adjust this, we're going to use our direct selection tool, and then when we zoom out, we can actually see the actual size of our image. So you can see that this is or an image, and that it needs to fit in this area here. So we can just resize this. There we go. And notice that the whole image won't fit because the ratio is not exactly the same. Let's make sure that we hold shift so that we're not changing the ratio of our image. We don't want to skew the image in any way. There we go. So we're just gonna size it so that it falls inside the frame. There we go. And I'm actually using my arrow keys to line it up. There we go. And we can preview that to see what it looks like using the overprint. Now some key things to note. Remember earlier when we use this placeholder text. I know that I don't want my text to be longer than my image. I don't want the text to be wider than the word introduction here, and I want it to align here. Now this is a principle of design called alignment. But in order for this to be possible, the person who is writing this needs to use an approximate of the same amount of words. That's important. If they use more words, then it's not going to line up in the design way that I prefer. Does everybody see that? Second page here. Alright, and I can I wanted to use the same font for this, so I'm going to choose Central Gothic here. In paragraph, I'm going to say do not hyphenate. That's located here. So that way it doesn't split my words. And there we go. Now I want to show you guys something. Now imagine, let's make this a little bit more wacky. Imagine that I wanted this to fit. It's located under the paragraph panel. Right. Now let's imagine I'm going to use my direct selection tool and I'm going to select the frame of this image here. And notice that I can now edit this frame as how I would edit a vector object. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to extend my frame down here. I'm holding shift because I want it to have this stylistic look. Then I'm going to move my image to kind of fit inside this stylistic look here. So I need to make my image bigger to fill out the frame. There it is. Now clearly my text will have to change. Now the great thing is that frames are actually vector objects, so I can actually click on the shape of my frame and realign my text to fit in a similar shape. Now notice I'm losing some text down here, so I do need to make this a bit taller. And let's make it a bit wider. Alright, I realize I need less words, so let's delete some more words here. There we go. So you realize that you can now change the shape of your design using, because these frames can be manipulated just like any regular object. And the good thing about this is that if you were doing a design like this, it would be very important that you use the same amount of word count. You can imagine that if you have a whole 4 paragraphs, then your entire design that you spend time working on would just be thrown out, because you would have to figure out where you're going to put that additional text. So this is why in InDesign now you can use the info panel to check how many words you have here, so that when you're actually writing your final text, it will fit. Do you guys understand this example? All right, great. Now let's look on the other versions here. Now we do have right. You actually said your answer right there. You would use the pen tool. So what you could do is you would go to the pen tool here, and let me just draw something here. There we go. And you can just right click and say did I forget where that is? Right. Content, and change it to graphic. Am I right? There's a right click and change to convert to frame option that you would use. Did I forget where it is? Say again? Let me tell you where it is. That's why I was wondering. So you go to file and place, and you know, I could just place like this image. I notice the image is fitting there now, right? And I can turn off the stroke. There we go. All right, now I'm not going to do all the frames. I'm going to leave some for you to do, but there is one more important point that I want to touch on. Let's see. Let's do that on the last page. Okay, so let's say on the last page I want to put a text that says thank you for viewing. Let's go here. Say thank you for viewing. There we go. So maybe I want to make this text a little bit bigger again, so using my arrow keys to make this bigger. Let us center that. There we go. And let's roll with a centric Gothic bold. There we go. All right, now when you're manipulating text, let me put this a little closer. So text has its own fill and stroke controls in InDesign. So for example, right now I'm looking at the fill and stroke for a shape or an object, a shape. Now if I switch to text fill and stroke, what this is telling me is that this text has a black fill and no stroke. So if I swap this around, now this has a stroke and no fill, and as you can see the black stroke here. Now as I say, this won't work for objects. So for example, if I have a shape here, if I have, oh sorry, right. Now if I click on this shape here, kind of zoom out so you can see. If I click on the shape here, I can't choose text formatting. I say this because sometimes we click on this text because we want to change the fill of the text and it's not working. So for example, if I double click this fill here and I say make it this very weird color here, then it fills the rectangle and you're saying, but no, I wanted it to fill the text. And the reason it's not doing that is because you need to be on the text formatting, not the shape formatting. So if I'm here now, then I change the fill, then the text will change. All right, so that is just one important point that keeps catching us with InDesign that I want you guys to look out for. I guarantee it will catch you one time or another. All right, now if for example you wanted to place something on each page, like a name or a page number or something like that, instead of writing the text on every page, you would use the slide master, the page master up here. And how this works is that if I click on, double click up here, and let's say that on every page I want to have my name, Ryan Williams, on the left page here, and then on the right page, on every right page, I want it to have Ryan Williams there, and right align it, put it over here. So now when I look on my pages now, every page has a Brian Williams here. Here it is. And every left page have a Brian Williams here as well. Okay guys, so that's how you use the slide master. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to complete this exercise. All right. So guys, that is pretty much it. So anybody has reached a decent way with the project?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So what happened is that I'll give you guys till tomorrow to submit this, right? And remember that for our next class, we would need you to there we go. We would need you to have completed this part, which is deciding what AS2 model you're going to use. And then next week we continue our journey. All right. Okay. So good luck with your critique on Friday. Oh, and there are some grades, but I'm only halfway through marking the assignment. So if you're not seeing your grade yet, it's probably that I haven't reached you yet, or you haven't handed it in yet. So you can check on the website for your grades. All right.
Sir?
Okay. Yeah.
Sir, have you added my ID number as it?
Oh, what?
Have you added my ID number as it to the spreadsheet for the grids?
Samaya, yes, I did.
Okay,
But
sir.
right, I added it because I marked yours already. Yes, I believe I marked yours already. Yeah. But I haven't uploaded the stuff from the exercises as yet, so you can look out for that during the week.
Okay, sir.
All right. Well, guys, I shall see you again on Monday. Hopefully, you are still alive after your critique. I have faith that you guys will make it through. All right. See if you can apply some of the lessons that you learn in DDM to help you guys out. All right.
Yes, sir.
All righty. So I'll see you on Monday.
You need a ride home, I'm trying to get you out of the bar. She's throwing up in my car.
Good evening, Sir Bram. Williams. Williams.
Sir Williams? Sir Williams?
Hello, you are still here.
You hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. I see that you are still here.
Good evening, sir. Class not keeping, no?
No, man, we finished already, man. It wasn't
You
a
finished
long
already?
class.
Okay. I missed this morning's class, this morning's session because internet issues. So what are we supposed to do now?
Okay, well, guess what? Check. I'm going to encode this now. So check back in about an hour time. You know where to find the recordings, right?
Yeah.
All right. Check back in about an hour time. And then I'll upload the recordings here. All right.
All right. Thanks much.